And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
Hello, RBLR Nation. Welcome to another week of Bucs football. We're coming off a bye week. It's Thanksgiving week. Happy Thanksgiving to all of our listeners. And happy Thanksgiving to my co-host, Santiago, as well. And to our producer, Eureka. Thank you very much for hosting this show. Got a shout out to the people. But it's neither a Bucs loss nor a Bucs victory. We aren't celebrating. We're not necessarily mourning. Somewhere in between. But luckily, the Bucs take on the Browns this weekend, so we'll be talking about that in the future. We're also talking about around the division. Taking a look around the NFC because the Bucs, they got some competition. So, but Santiago, we got to introduce you, my man. How are you doing today? How are you doing this week? Say hello to the people.
What's up, RBLR Nation? What's up, RBLR Universe? How is everyone doing? Bucs Universe out there as well. Man, just super excited. I know. I agree. We had a little bit. We had some rest, which was much needed. We were struggling a little bit, but we're at 500 right now. So, yeah, I can't wait to talk about some Bucs ball, and got the Cleveland Browns coming up this week, up in the cold of Cleveland. Oh my God, the dog pound up there. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's gonna be. We'll see. We're pulling for a win here. Let's go, gentlemen. Let's go. Let's go, Bucs, baby. I'm down. Let's go.
For sure. Bring the enthusiasm as always. I love it, Santiago. And yeah, like you mentioned, going up to the dog pound, it's going to be a dog fight. As our boy Musab, who isn't with us this week, but he would always call it a dog fight, so I got to shout him out. But yeah, it's been an interesting season so far, to say the least. 5-5, like Santiago mentioned, 500. Yeah, so things are looking up though. They're on a 2-game winning streak. Things are looking really up because the Browns are terrible. They're 7-3, but we'll get into that more later. For now, we're going to kind of take a look around the division, around the NFC, specifically the NFC South first, and then more in a broader sense, the NFC, Super Bowl competition. But yeah, we're going to discuss each team, give each team a grade for their season, and give each team kind of a threat level. No threat at all, which, in the NFC South, there's maybe going to be a few of those. A low threat level, medium threat level, high threat level. I'm guessing that there aren't any highs. Probably not even mediums either, if we're being completely honest. But yeah, just threat levels for the division. So we'll start with the Saints, the division rivals for the Bucs. They're third in the division. They've been having kind of an interesting season themselves. They've been bouncing between Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston. Jameis has lost the starting job to Andy Dalton. Dalton's been starting the past few weeks, and he looks okay. But the defense is a huge disappointment. They were supposed to be one of the best defenses in the NFL. They have not produced any takeaways. They've produced some, but they have not produced the takeaways that they need to. So yeah, for me personally, they're a low threat level. They have the worst turnover differential in the NFL. Maybe they turn things around because there's a lot of talent on that roster, but it seems like they're kind of washed up at this point, which is tough. And if I had to give the season a grade, definitely a C- because it's been a huge letdown because the Saints were supposed to be contenders with the Bucs in the NFC South, maybe wild card team, but they have been neither of those things. Santiago, we'll bounce it to you though. What's your thoughts on the Saints? A grade, a threat level, and just kind of overall thoughts.
Yeah, you gave a great your statistics are on point, Carter. It's true, man. The Saints have always been a thorn in our side. You know what I'm saying? Like these, since forever. It's not just the last couple of years. It's always they have been our toughest opponent in the NFC South.
Sure.
In our own division, and even when Drew Brees was back in there. But now it's obviously changed to a different, two different quarterbacks: Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston, who. If we look at Andy Dalton, he was with other teams. Obviously Jameis Winston has history with us here in Tampa, but never was, he was always inconsistent. Interceptions, trying to make, too much of a play and just causing way too many turnovers than we would like, right? To give him a grade, to be honest with you, I would give him I would say a C- as well. It's they're a low threat level, to be honest with you. They're 4-7, and obviously we don't know the Saints as a 4-7 type of team throughout their history, right? They've always been, head to head with us in the division, first place, second place, first place, second place, now they're in third place. So, yeah, man, it's They are. It's tough when you are so used to having a great quarterback like Drew Brees was, and Sean Payne, which is an excellent coach. So now something completely new, but obviously nothing lasts forever. Of course, you have to, grow and make, do well in the draft and stuff. So that's pretty much how I look at it. Obviously, they have noticeable players like Alvin Kamara still playing. You know what I'm saying? But he's getting up there in age as well. So but yeah, man, I still believe that us as Bucks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we're still going to be first place.
For sure. Yeah, I don't like you said, they're a very low threat level. I don't see them contending for this division at all, especially not with the Bucks. And the Bucks, they finally beat them this year. It's been a couple of years of 0-2 football against the Saints, and well, apart from the playoffs, regular season speaking, of course. So yeah, it's been nice to see the Bucks. They took care of business in that first game. Hopefully, they'll be able to finish out the season with another W against the Saints down the stretch. That'll be huge, a huge division matchup. The Saints will be looking to play spoilers. But now we'll move on to the Panthers, who are even worse than the Saints. They're the worst team in the division. They're last. Sam Darnold has taken the starting job from Baker Mayfield this weekend. See how that goes. They're they're in rough shape, but they're playing a team that's also in rough shape. It's our producer's favorite team, the Broncos. Sorry, Eureka. They're taking on another team that's in similar situations. So we'll see how that goes. But regardless, their season has not gone really well, but they had pretty low expectations going in. They had a really high draft pick for a reason. They're 3-8, but one of those 3 wins did come against the Bucs. So obviously they've got something there, when it comes to playing the Bucs. But regardless, maybe they've managed to sneak in another win against the Bucs at the end of the season, but it doesn't really matter. They're not a threat. They're no threat at all in my assessment of this team. They're just really, really bad. They can't seem to decide on a quarterback. They can't seem to decide on a coach. It's a rough season, and I'd give their season a D-. It's been bad. But Santiago, how are you feeling about the Panthers? You may be a little more optimistic about them than I am. How are you feeling?
Nah, man. Same thing, man. Sam Darnold, he's an experienced quarterback, but they have only 3 wins, man. I mean, it's crazy. They're going for playing the Broncos, who had high hopes with Russell Wilson going into their organization, trying to make him a Super Bowl contender, and it went down. It went completely sour for that. But yeah, Carolina, they've never. I mean, they've always been in our division a third place team. Because obviously, the last couple of seasons, because obviously the Falcons have been the worst. Other than that, I give them as a record myself, a grade. I'll give them an F. I mean, their last, they are very bad. That's you can't really go. You were kind of nice on that one, Carter, with your grade, but I'll give them an F. You know what I mean? They're really, they have not. No, they're going to be one of those top, teams, and hoping to get a good draft pick or whatever in next year's draft. But yeah, they're not doing well. They haven't done well at all.
Yeah, I mean, shoot. In my defense, though, a D- is only a half a step up from an F. But no, I'm with you, though. I'm with you. I was maybe a little light on him, but yeah, definitely awful team. But like I said, they beat the Bucs, so we're looking over them and we're looking past them, obviously. But yeah, we'll see how it ends up. Like you said, no vision. They're truly in awful shape. But they're playing the Broncos, and Broncos country, let's ride. So we'll see how that goes. But that brings us to the second place team in the division, the surprisingly adequate Atlanta Falcons. They've been off to a kind of an up and down season too, but they've had some interesting wins. They've played some close games. They managed to blow that huge lead in the first game against the Saints. They're a few plays away from being an above 500 team. But as they sit right now, they're 5-6. Second place in the division. They could maybe make a run at the end of the year, but they also have Marcus Mariota as their quarterback, which comes with its own set of limitations. Kyle Pitts looks like he might be done for the year, so they don't have their glorified left tackle anymore. Big loss on that end. But still a surprisingly adequate football team. They're definitely not as bad as anyone thought they were going to be. So I'd give them about a B for the season just because they've exceeded expectations. And they're still a low threat. I still don't really see them contending with the Bucs for the division, but they're certainly not a team that you can look past because they seem to play some solid football. They have some dynamic playmakers. They got that rookie wide receiver, Drake London, Cordero Patterson out of the backfield's interesting. And the defense, that secondary is really, really good. But Santiago, we'll toss it to you. How are you feeling about the Falcons this year? You know, it's been a surprising year for them, surprisingly adequate. So what you got for us?
Yeah, Carter, I agree, man. It's the Falcons, we have to win. You know what I'm saying? We are in a situation that if we just lose games ourselves, hey, the Falcons are hoping that we slip, you know what I'm saying, at these remaining games so they can get into the playoffs and sneak past by us, fly past by us. So they're going low on their radar, you know what I'm saying? They're not high, they're low, you know. But yeah, they beat the Chicago Bears this past week, by 2 points. So, I was seeing the game on TV, and they were, they played, they knew they had to win. I mean, because obviously we had our bye week, and Marcus Mariota, when he came into the league, I think he's found a home right now in Atlanta. I think he's going to possibly. I don't think this is going to be something quick that he's going to leave like next season. I don't believe so. I honestly think because he's a decent quarterback. He is. He is decent. Not in my eyes a superstar, but we have to win, man. And my grade for them, for the Atlanta Falcons, I would say a C.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say a C. Because even though looking here, in this past game versus Chicago, I mean they had 2 fumbles in the game. Right, and then Chicago had 0 fumbles. They had 1 interception though in the game, but even with 2 fumbles lost, like we were having issues with that this past year with fumbles, and we would lose games. I mean, somehow luck was on their end that they ended up winning. So, but Atlanta, we have to get away from them, like sail away from them as quickly as possible, and win this week.
Yeah, get some distance between the two teams. I'm with you, Santiago, because they're only a game back. Like that's kind of tough for the Bucs versus the Atlanta Falcons season. I don't know that any of us thought that the Falcons would be making this interesting, and that's kind of what they're doing right now. But yeah, I'm with you. It was definitely a must-win game for them this past week, especially since they lost to the Panthers on Thursday Night Football. That was ugly. So yeah, it was definitely a must-win game. They were playing a tough team. I mean, the Bears are another one that they can give you a run for their money with Justin Fields at quarterback. So yeah, it was definitely a good win for them against the Bears. But now we're kind of shifting from the boring NFC South with all these god awful teams, and we're taking kind of a broader view at the conference. The NFC in general, because that's the goal here. The Bucs' goal is to make it to the Super Bowl, and it would be nice to win the division. And it would be great to say, "Oh, the Bucs won the NFC South again." That's wonderful. But with this team's lofty expectations, that's not the goal. The goal is the Super Bowl. So it's important to take a broader look. So in your mind, Santiago, we'll start with you since I've been kind of starting everything off. Who's the biggest threat in the NFC? I mean, there are some big time teams, obviously the Eagles, the Vikings, but who's your main focus in the Bucs playoff?
My main focus, honestly, as looking at the division themselves, is the Eagles, man. Like, to be honest with you, they have 1 loss.
Right.
And they were 9 and they were 9-0, and they lost the previous game, this past game that just came up versus the Commanders.
For sure.
And obviously the 72 Dolphins were Don Shula was up in heaven, like celebrating, like, yes, thank you for for keeping our record intact, for only undefeated team in NFL history to even go all the way and win the Super Bowl as well. But yeah, they're the biggest threat. And I mean, you can't just say they are the biggest threat. You know why? Because you have the Minnesota Vikings, man. Even though they lost to the Dallas Cowboys this past week, like they are also a threat as well. I mean, they're winning. I mean, they have it's unbelievable. You know, the Vikings are 8-2. Obviously you look at San Francisco. You look at the Cowboys as well. You look at the Giants. I mean, like all these teams have winning records, even though they're in their divisions, and they are, the Giants are in third place in the NFC East. Cowboys are in second. Obviously, the Eagles are going to win their division. I mean, going to win their division, but can those teams fight for wild cards as well? So, they are. Our goal is to go to Super Bowl, and I know in my heart, because my heart is pewter and red and everything, and I still believe that that we have a shot, Carter. I still believe that we can go to the ship and win the Super Bowl. I still believe that. But we have our work cut out for us.
That is a very astute observation. They certainly do have their work cut out for them. The NFC, like you said, there's a lot of winning football teams in the NFC. A lot of kind of overlooked teams because the Eagles and the Vikings, like no one. I mean, the Eagles are a very talented team. I think a lot of people had them winning their division, but no one could have predicted them going undefeated to start the year. I mean, it was a really really hot start. Like you mentioned, they lost to the Commanders, and they had a really close victory against the Colts, which that's not good because the Colts have Jeff Saturday as their head coach, who has amount of
Yeah.
coaching experience as all of us in this podcast. So but regardless, yeah, the Eagles are definitely the big threats. The Vikings, like you mentioned, the Vikings had a huge victory against the Bills. Justin Jefferson made that ridiculous catch. But yeah, that loss to the Cowboys was ugly because they got absolutely trounced. So the Cowboys are another good team. The 49ers always play well just because that defense is just so fundamentally sound. They're always a really tough out. They make it to the NFC Championship game or the divisional matchup seemingly every year. So, yeah, there are definitely some really difficult matchups in the NFC. But like you said, Santiago, I am with you. I still believe that the Bucs can make it to the Super Bowl, can make it to the promised land. They have the talent, they have the experience, they have all the veterans. It's just kind of all about getting hot, getting into a rhythm. And they're on a 2-game winning streak. So, hopefully this is kind of the jolt, the galvanizing factor that we've been looking for. So now that we're finally talking about the Bucs, we've been talking about everyone else for first half of the show. What are kind of the expectations for the rest of the season? What's one thing you can focus on? One thing key in that you want to improve moving forward? The Bucs, is it the running game? Is it the run defense? Offensive line? Obviously there's a lot of improvements to be made with this team. They're a 500 team. They're not perfect. So Santiago, we'll start with you. What's one specific thing that you want the Bucs to improve kind of in this?
Well, yeah, obviously I'll get to that question really quick, Carter. Obviously when I was talking about the Eagles, I meant to say also one more thing. Like, they just signed Ndamukong Suh, former
Right.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers, veteran that helped us, get to the promised land ourselves. So obviously he's trying to help a team that's really, really winning right now, to get to that promised land so they can get their second Lombardi. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully that, if we get to meet them, in any time in the playoffs, we can surprise them by defeating them, because obviously we know the playoffs are win, move on, lose, go home. And obviously once you're in the playoff mode, it's completely a different animal out there. It's totally different. Like, the intensity of the games and everything like that, even though we'll play a lot of away games because, it looks like that way, maybe with
Yep.
with the record, but
Sure.
I still believe that we can do that. To answer, sorry, your question, what can we improve on? In general, if I look at anything, it would be, wide receivers. I saw Russell Gage was back on the practice field today. You know what I mean? Like, have him, get more involved in the, playing in the offense with Mike Evans, with Chris Godwin. I was, Chris Godwin. We were talking about how he scored that touchdown in Munich, right, versus the Seahawks. And that was his first touchdown of the season, and
Yeah.
that's unbelievable. Such an elite an elite wide receiver, and he only had his first touchdown. So, obviously Julio Jones, even though he had that touchdown catch and scored that touchdown in the Munich game versus the Seattle Seahawks, I want him to produce as well. I heard today that Leonard Fournette, he's having issues with his hip, so obviously he's going to be not seeing that much playing time. Obviously Rashad White is going to be the one that's going to be trying to do that workload there. Maybe Keyshawn Vaughn can go into there and put some more effort in playing. Keep Brady healthy. You know what I'm saying? Like I believe, I saw that he had a good moment with his son today at practice, because he's been going through so much with the divorce and everything like that. So, it's he has his own family, but his Tampa Bay Buccaneers is a family as well. So they have to, give him a big hug. Come on, man. You know what I mean? Give him a big hug and we got to motivate each other and do well and let's get on a winning streak this second part of the season.
Absolutely, and they're like you said, a winning streak it's the perfect time to do it to down the stretch, and they're on one right now. So I mean, it'd be great to see him continue it. And yeah, I love the fact that you mentioned the wide receivers because Russell Gage and Julio Jones have been just on and off the injury list. It's been tough to see because they're both super talented. When they're healthy. I mean, Russell Gage had that game against the Packers where he had a crap ton of receptions. Julio Jones had his little breakout moment, hopefully. Against the Seahawks, where he scored that touchdown on the little, shallow cross. It was wonderful to see that because he's been banged up all year, hasn't really been able to play. And yeah, I mean, we talked about it at the beginning of the season. They would run a lot of these four wide receiver sets with those four guys out there, and we just haven't been able to see it because they've all been hurt. So that's a great point. Definitely, receiver health is a huge key. Chris Godwin's still recovering from that ACL injury, like you mentioned, the first touchdown of the season just a couple weeks ago against Seattle. But I think my main focus for the rest of the season, the thing that they can mostly improve on, which they did against the Seahawks, is the running game. They definitely, you saw it. They ran the ball well and they won. It's kind of that. I hate to simplify it that much, and it's easier said than done, but it really is that simple. If they run the ball well, then it can set up play action. Teams can't just sit back; they have to load the box a little bit more. And it keeps Brady from having to throw the damn ball 48 times a game. That's not sustainable. That is not a way. That's not winning football. That's not going to win any games in the playoffs. So definitely the running game is a huge, huge point of emphasis moving forward for the Bucs, and I think they know that. I mean, they're well aware of it, and they're not stupid. They pay attention to the stats just like the rest of us. So yeah, I mean, definitely the running game, but receiver health is definitely a big, big key moving forward as well. That was a great point, Santiago. But what doesn't need health is the RBLR shop. That RBLR shop's never going to be on the injured list. It's never going to go on IR. It's never going to be out for a few weeks. It's going to be there. You can find your stuff. You can find dope apparel on all the Tampa teams. The Bucks, Lightning, Rowdies, the Bolts. Man, it's getting excited just thinking about it. Man, just getting some cool threads. Santiago, I know you got a promo code for us, and why don't you bless the people with it? Go ahead.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, of course, I got that promo code is Cannons, CANNONS, 10% off your whole order at shop.rblrsports.com. You know what I mean? And go get some fresh thread. Just like Carter said, you got to want to get something nice for your family, for even yourself, and look fly for the weekend on a daily basis in the cold. It's going to get cold up there in Cleveland. So, hey, go get some nice threads. You know what I'm saying? Go to the stadium. Cheer on the Bucs. Let's go, Bucs.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, cheering on the Bucks, that's the goal. So yeah, I mean, you go on there, get some fresh threads, and hey, Black Friday's coming up. You can shop for Christmas. But yeah, so kind of moving on from that shameless shop plug. Bye to the bye week. It's no longer the bye week. The Bucks are finally playing some football again. We won't be sitting around twiddling our thumbs on Sunday. So the Bucks are, like you said, they're traveling up to Cleveland. They're taking on the Browns. A little preview on the Browns, just a little overview. They're 3-7. They play in a really, really tough division with the Bengals, Ravens, and Steelers. So they have to, they managed to beat the Bengals somehow. But regardless, it's definitely been a tough season for them. They traded for Deshaun Watson, who is serving an 11-game suspension. This will be the last game that they're playing without him. He will return following this matchup with the Bucks. But until then, they've had Jacoby Brissett holding down the fort, and he's done a serviceable job. They're one of the more productive offenses in the league, interestingly enough. But yeah, it's mostly due to Nick Chubb and that offensive line. They have probably one of the best offensive lines in football. Nick Chubb's one of the best running backs in football. Just really ground and pound. Just they really do a great job in that area. So yeah, I mean, initial thoughts, Santiago. What are your initial thoughts on the Browns? How they'll match up with the Bucs. Kind of tell us what you're thinking.
What am I thinking? I mean, they're hungry, man. You know what I'm saying? We're going up to their stadium, cold weather. It hasn't been nice and warm like it is down here in Florida, up anywhere in the north. You know what I mean? Even in the Midwest. So, I haven't checked the weather up there for the weekend yet, to be honest with you. But hey, Buffalo just had a snowstorm, and it's just been crazy with the snow. And if any snow comes down, we're not used to that. So let's make that clear. And Jacoby Brissett, he's a veteran QB. I mean, he's been bounced, going different teams. Obviously, Alex Kappa, so he actually no, I'm sorry, take that back. Do apologize. But the Cleveland Browns, I do apologize. They're 3-7. So
Right.
I still believe we're gonna win, to be honest with you. I believe so.
So you think they're going to go 6-5? Then you think this should be a pretty easy matchup? Is basically what you're saying?
Yeah, I honestly believe that this is going to be a pretty easy matchup. Even though we're going to be up there, we're going to dominate. I believe with our wide receiver set, we're going to be. Mike Evans is going to have a big day. I obviously believe Chris Godwin can have a big day. Yes, he's coming off of injury, but I honestly believe even our defense can have a big day as well. Because the Cleveland Browns just recently had 2 games. They lost 2 games versus the Bills and the Dolphins previously, and they were outscored pretty badly. So, we just have to literally put Jacoby Brissett on his back and get him frustrated and do our thing and score, man. That's what we really have to do. Whether it's field goals or because we've had our issues of just scoring in the red zone and stuff like that, this whole year. So, we just got to put points on the board.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, the offensive production is going to be key, especially since the Browns are one of the worst defenses in the NFL. They definitely have a tough time stopping the run. They're the 10th worst team in the NFL in regards to rush defense. But the big thing that stood out to me when I was kind of doing my homework on the Browns was their turnover differential, 4th worst. I mean, they just can't get takeaways. That defensively they're just kind of letting teams run up and down the field, and they're not stopping them, and they're also not taking the ball away. So it's tough. It's definitely tough to win football games that way. So I mean, I guess the big question is going to be if the Bucs can take advantage of these things. But we both seem to be in agreement that the Bucs are likely going to win this game. What would have to happen in your mind, Santiago, if the Bucs were to lose? What has to go wrong for the Bucs?
Well, the Cleveland Browns are a passionate fan base. They've never had an actual, and during the NFL present time, a winning, a really well winning season. To be honest with you, they're normally a mid-level to low, in their division. They're usually from third place to last place, literally in the division.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean they have like you said, Nick Chubb. They have Jacoby Brissett. They have Jadeveon Clowney. They have Amani Cooper. These are former. They are former players that have been around different teams. Like in the NFL. If we lose, that's going to be devastating because we were just talking about it. We have the Falcons on our tails, and we definitely want to separate ourselves from our division and not be sucked into the division. Of course, I mean we need to honestly not make mistakes. Please don't make mistakes. Honestly, you know, please, we cannot have Tom Brady on his back. We have to. Anybody that's playing, Robert Hainsey, any one of our players, I want to see our secondary, come up with interceptions, to be honest with you. I really do. I want to see Antoine Winfield Jr., man, like just, come on. I want to see him do some big plays because he's been doing it for that us.
So you think turnover is a big difference in this game?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I really do. I really do, man. We have to have that same energy, that we had in Munich. To be honest with you, we were pumped up for that game. Look how we played. You
For
know what I
sure.
mean? Just like, we have to have that same intensity. We had a bye week, we're down here in the warm weather in Florida. You know what I mean? Yeah, we're going to go up for the cold, but we got to think about, hey, it's only for 4 hours. It's nothing. Then we're going to be back in the sunshine. You know what I mean? Come on. We live in a state that people want to come and relax. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, get the win quickly, go up there, do your thing, come back. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really how I look at it. And we got to stop the running game. Nick Chubb, he's a really good player. So
For sure.
we have to, and I'll repeat it. We have to make sure Jacoby Brissett is fumbling, intercepting, not doing anything with the football except, handing it over to us. Honestly, that's what we have to do.
For sure, yeah. Turnovers are definitely going to play a big factor. Yeah, I'm with you. I think if the Bucs manage to screw up so much that they, give the ball away a bunch and they don't manage to force any takeaways, that's going to be their undoing. It always comes down to turnovers. It seems like every football game, it's like turnovers, 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 and then teams are surprised when they lose after giving away the ball a bunch of times. Like we said, the best team, one of the best teams in football record-wise, the best team in football record-wise, the Philadelphia Eagles. They're the best team in the NFL turnover differential. So it's emblematic of what happens in football games. So yeah, that's kind of what has to happen. If the Bucs turn the ball over and if they let Brady get sacked a bunch of times, which with Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney, it could happen. Those are two really, really good edge rushers. So yeah, those are kind of the two things to watch for sure. So we'll kind of get into key matchups because there's a lot of them in this game. The Browns have a lot of really talented individual players. It is a little bit odd to me that they're 3-7 this season because that roster is not a 3-7 roster. So I kind of just some key matchups individually wise because like I said, the Browns have such great players: Nick Chubb, Denzel Ward, their cornerback, Myles Garrett coming off the edge. But the Bucs also obviously have some great players too. Rashad White seems to be coming into his own, and the Browns' rush defense is so putrid that maybe he has another breakout game. So Santiago, what's kind of your big key matchups? Is it Denzel Ward versus Mike Evans, Myles Garrett versus the Bucs O line? How are you feeling about it?
It's going to be like, yeah, our wide receiver, our wide receiver versus their secondary, so it'd be Mike Evans. It's Mike Evans versus
Denzel Ward, yeah, that's a
yeah,
big.
Denzel Ward. Yeah, definitely. Obviously, they have tremendous linebackers like,
Deion,
Deion Jones, Tony Fields.
yeah,
They have, offensive linemen like Drew Forbes, Jack Conklin,
yeah,
Joel Bentonino. These players are, they're going to try and give us a headache. And definitely we cannot have that happen. Obviously, they have DeAnthony Bell, Thomas Graham Jr., Martin Emerson. These are other, cornerbacks, strong safeties. There are, we have to play buck ball. That's pretty much what we got to do. And let's win, baby. Let's win. That's what we got to do.
for sure, yeah. So it sounds to me like you're saying that the key matchups are mostly that secondary versus the Bucs wide receivers. Yeah, you mentioned some also Greg mind. He's definitely second year guy out of Northwestern. It'll be interesting to see how Brady manages to either play, just kind of play keep away from Denzel Ward because he's their best corner. They've also got some solid other guys in Greg Newsome, Williams. You mentioned their rookie Mark Emerson. Yeah, so that's definitely a matchup for sure. And you also mentioned their offensive line. The Bucs definitely need to be able to get pressure and kind of get through that offensive line because it's a really good one. The Browns definitely have one of the more talented offensive lines in the league. You mentioned Jack Conklin and Joel Bitonio. For sure, they got that left tackle out of Alabama, Jedrick Wills. He's been on those progressive commercials with Baker Mayfield before Baker got traded. So yeah, definitely some really interesting stuff to be seen this Sunday, Browns. But now that we've kind of game to death, let's get into some score predictions because I think we both predict are going to win. But Santiago, you got that magic score prediction for us?
Yeah, I have a honestly, I don't know. I'm gonna go honestly with a 30-10 victory for us.
30-10. Wow. Okay, that's a pretty big score differential. 20. All right, I like it.
Yeah, I'm saying that because they've struggled even the last two games. I mean they've allowed to be scored about like almost 40 points, against the Dolphins, and also over 30 points against the Buffalo Bills. Even though they've had those two teams specifically are they're doing better offensively and scoring and everything like that than us. But I still believe we have the talent to put that many points up, even in a tough stadium like them, because their stadium, their fan base reminds me of like a soccer fan base, similar to what we saw in Munich. You know what I'm saying? Like they are passionate. Like it's unbelievable. Like the dog pound, they're so famous. Their fan base is so famous that people, if you are from Cleveland, honestly, you're a Cleveland Brown. I mean, that's what it is. It doesn't matter if they don't have any Super Bowls. Even back in the olden days. I mean, before the NFL became the NFL, and they had the AFL and everything like that. Like, yeah, they were champions. Back in the 40s and 50s. But in this present era of the league, they're more known for losing than obviously than anything else. So, that's something that we want to silent the crowd, even though they're not a silent fan base at all. They are vocal and everything. And, I know when I'm listening, I know when I'm going to be watching the game on television, Carter, I know you're going to be watching as well. You're going to hear like the boo, you know what I mean? You're going to hear that type of fan base that the Browns are well known for. But that's what I believe. I mean, yeah, we also have to silent AJ Green. You know what I mean? Like they have other well-known players also on their team that we have to silence. So, let's go Bucks, baby. Let's go. It's a Bucks life. It's an RBL life. Come on, let's get pumped up for this game. Let's go 6-5, baby. Let's go.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that's the goal is go 6-5, 30-10. Definitely a bit of a bolder prediction that I probably would give. I think the Bucks are going to win this one as well, but I'm going 21-17. Excuse me. That's my prediction. Just because the Browns are still a very competent team. Like you said, they got that fan base. It's a road game in the cold. You've mentioned that a bunch of times as well, Santiago. That's a great point. Tom Brady's used to the cold, but like you said, it's a Tampa Bay team. They're used to warm weather, Florida, palm trees and all that stuff. So yeah, they got to deal with the dog pound as well as the cold weather. So yeah, we'll definitely see how it goes. But yeah, 21-17. That's my general score prediction. So yeah, hopefully we'll be tuning back in next week with a Bucks victory, regardless of whether it's 30-20 or 30-10, excuse me, 21-17 or whatever the case may be. But regardless, I want to thank our viewers for tuning in. Y'all have sat with us and sat through this whole episode, and thank you so much for tuning in. Obviously, we'd love for you to shop on the shop on the RBLR shop, but like and subscribing, that's free. So if you wouldn't mind doing that for us, that would be lovely. Wherever you're tuning in, Spotify, YouTube, Apple, anywhere is fine. And thank you so much for listening. And as always, go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.